Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And there's just something about the vibe at a theme park. If you've ever visited one, then I think you know what I mean. The smell of fair food in the air, distant screams from rides towering above you in the sky, and the thrill you get at watching lines of people before you fly in train cars at indescribable speeds or dangle stories high as they are shot off into the air. You know that feeling of anticipation and maybe even suspense as you slowly watch yourself and a group of strangers with you make their way up to the very top of the first hill of a roller coaster. But what if I told you that between the squeals for joy and the endless days of fun, that many of these parks harbor much more than the people who work tirelessly to keep it all running? What if I told you that many of these parks contain the spirits of those who once visited and unfortunately lost their lives on those grounds? Well, that's what we're discussing today. Kings Island in Ohio and Lake Compounce in Connecticut both have stories from its past that may explain some of the strange and paranormal reports by guests and staff. We also have several stories from our listeners who've experienced these haunts firsthand.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, when you told me we were doing something around theme parks, I was like, why? Like, okay.
There are many haunted theme parks.
I didn't know that was a thing, but it does make a lot of sense.
I watched a Miss Mojo YouTube video, and there were like 15 of them.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it was like 10. I don't know,
Is
but it was a lot.
because people have died there?
Oh, I think some of them, yes. There have been like disasters, but maybe even just like a lot of emotion too.
Energy,
like a lot of like that thrill, that suspense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Just like any place that has tons of people coming through all the time. Yeah. Interesting.
But
I don't know how I feel.
It's some good stories.
Because I already don't like roller coasters. You do, don't you?
I used to.
You're a weird thrill seeker person.
I used to. I haven't ridden a roller coaster in probably 10 years.
I think
maybe
my head
more.
would fall off if I tried to ride a roller coaster.
You think so?
They make me sick. Yeah.
Well, I used to like them. I don't know. I'm not. I fear death more now.
Bro, I think about death every day. Let's not get dark.
Let's not.
But one question: are there ghosts or spirits seen on rides?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so scary. Okay. I'm freaked out. Let's go. I'm actually intrigued now.
Now that I say it, like you're excited about it, I can't remember if it's on the ones that I put in the episode or the other ones that I researched. So I really hope I live up to your expectations.
Okay.
Our tea today is David's Tea Brown Sugar Bourbon.
Yes. We've had this one?
Yes.
I don't remember tasting it.
I thought I brought my New Orleans cup in our New Orleans episode.
Oh, yes.
Because it was Bourbon Street.
I remember. All right.
Let's go. It's late, around midnight, and all of the lights of the park are beginning to go out, section by section. A lone security guard makes his way around, doing his duty, and checking to make sure that the park is empty before they lock up. He waves goodbye to a fellow employee in the distance. They had finally finished closing, and our security guard sweeps his flashlight around the perimeter. All seems normal. He doesn't see anyone that doesn't belong. But as his light brushes by an old fountain, he notices two men sitting nearby. He hadn't seen them the first time his light flashed in that direction, but he figured he must have just missed them. As soon as he sees them, he hears the distinct sound of distant talking. He, of course, couldn't make out what they were saying, but could tell it was conversational. He called out in the direction of the two silhouettes. "The park is closed. It's time to head home." But they don't move. He takes a step in their direction, the beam from his flashlight jostling as he makes his way to the fountain. But when it settles back on the location the two men were sitting, there's nobody there. He sweeps his light left, then right, not a person in sight. He calls out again, but it's completely silent at this point. He figures they must have heard him and taken off back to their car, but he can't shake the chill he has as he finishes up for the night, checking every nook and cranny. He's not the first to see the two men by the fountain, and I'm sure won't be the last. They are two of the many supposed spirits that still walk the grounds of the Kings Island amusement park long after their lives were cut short by a tragic accident.
Oh no, so this is one that's confirmed?
Yeah. There are a few in here with confirmed histories.
Oh no, that's so sad.
It is.
But never mind. I'll say my thoughts to the end.
Kings Island is a beloved theme park located in Mason, Ohio, just under 30 miles northeast of Cincinnati. It sees millions of visitors every year looking for a thrill and a good family fun time. Today, it's owned by Six Flags, a coaster enthusiast's dream with over 15 roller coasters to choose from, over 100 attractions, and several seasonal celebrations. It was originally built and opened by Taft Broadcasting more than 50 years ago in 1972. It was supposed to take over as one of Ohio's biggest amusement parks after Cincinnati's Coney Island flooded significantly in the early 70s. It was almost immediately a success and remains so today, but it's known for more than just the adventures of thrill seekers. It's known to be haunted, and it has several incidents in the past that many point to as the origins for the spirits known to lurk through the park. The park was built atop an old munitions factory, King Powder Company and Peters Cartridge Company, that exploded in the 1940s, said to have killed nearly 100 people. There's one more strange component to the land that houses this amusement park, and that's that it sits right beside an old cemetery founded all the way back in 1803. Union Cemetery, or as it's referred to by some, Dog Street Cemetery, can still be seen from the parking lot today, thought to house more than 70 bodies, though there are only about 50 markers remaining. Most of the burials date back to the mid-19th century, but there is one grave that many ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts seem to find particular interest in: the grave of 5-year-old Missouri Jane Galliner. She was the daughter of Stephen and Nancy Galliner and is thought to have lived near where the park was eventually built. I couldn't find concrete evidence of the cause of her death on March 10, 1846, but the legend claims she drowned in a nearby pond where the Whitewater Canyon ride sits today. She is said to walk the park and its parking lot near her final resting place at night more than a century after she was laid to rest. She wears a little blue dress, very much reminiscent of the 1840s when she lost her life, which explains why she is referred to by many as just the girl in the blue dress. The story of the girl in the blue dress is so well known that the cast of Ghost Hunters explored the park and cemetery for an episode on their show, attempting to get some answers on the particular origins of this spirit. She is seen all over the park, in the International Restaurant, near the Whitewater Canyon, the parking lot, and many, many more locations. The team with TAPS claimed to have captured EVP evidence of this young girl during their investigation, and stories of interactions with the young Missouri Jane continue to this day by employees of the park and the occasional guest. According to a blog I found with a collection of stories about this girl in the blue dress, drivers pulling into and exiting the parking lot near the cemetery would often report seeing a little girl walking through the cemetery at night, or even looking through the fence into the park. The descriptions of her were always the same: very small, light hair, and the very recognizable blue outfit. Tram drivers have claimed to see her in their mirrors, but when they turn around to get a better look, she simply vanishes. Others have said that a little girl has darted right in front of them as they drove, and as they braced for impact, too late to stop the collision, nothing would happen. The little girl would be nowhere in sight. I also read one experience of a tram driver who saw her on the bus with them.
Oh my gosh.
But she wasn't really there. Like, they turn around again and she's gone. Some security guards have claimed to see a little girl in a blue dress after the park is closed, but when they call out or ask where her parents are, she would simply disappear before they could approach her. Worried adults will approach park employees to let them know they came across a very young, unaccompanied child near some of the bigger rides, but when the employee makes it over to the location the girl was seen, she's not there. And the description that usually comes with these kinds of reports: young, light hair, old-fashioned blue dress. Patrons of the park have reported seeing the image of a young girl while on rides like the Whitewater Canyon, or even seeing her looking out the window of the tower used by employees to operate the ride. Quote, former supervisor Austin Eversole recalls, "I hear she's seen in the woods, like there's an opening in the woods, a pathway, and when the train is going by, they, the train employees, say they see her running back there on the pathway. Or she's just seen standing there watching the train go by, and they say she's in a little blue dress every single time. While I was up top working, we, the supervisors, all got a call that there was a child left on Whitewater Canyon. There was a rides girl, and she was letting all the lift rafts go by, making sure there was no one on it. And she thought she heard a girl talking, and she thought she was on the ride. So she stopped the entire ride, and she did an emergency call, and we all had to run down there to make sure there was nothing going on. It ended up that there was nobody there." Deborah Lance, a local psychic who has participated in a paranormal investigation at the park, had her own encounter. Quote, "On my way out, I was walking with a gentleman. We both heard a little girl giggling behind us. It totally freaked him out. He was like, 'Holy crap, this has never happened before.' Because he's skeptical. I started laughing at him because that stuff happens all the time with me." And paranormal investigator Lee Allen also had a run-in with little Missouri Jane. Quote, "We were in Whitewater Canyon Tower 2, and she was actually there. We locked the door, the little latch, and me and him, a fellow investigator, and another investigator, were investigating the tower because they say they see her up there. We would ask her to speak, and we would hear someone on the other side of the door. There's like 13 steps and then a platform. We could hear her outside on the platform, and we were trying to open the door, but we couldn't open it. And when we were trying, we could hear her giggle. So she was holding the door.
Oh my God.
And all we heard were 3 steps and then gone. So it was like boom, 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 but 13 boom, boom, booms. Outside the door, there was 13 steps and then a platform. We could hear her outside on the platform, and then we heard the gravel, and it was gone.
Why is she so strong?
I don't know. Maybe she's had a lot of time to hone her craft, I guess.
Oh
It's
my
been many years. There's another story from a former employee who was working the Whitewater Canyon ride in 1996 when they were just 16 years old. They were tasked with closing in Tower 2, running the empty ride through once now the final guest had left. So they have to do a full run through of the ride to make sure everyone's gone.
one's
There's
there.
there's no stopping, of the ride, nothing wrong. Yeah. It usually took about 10 minutes. So while sitting there waiting for the boat to return, they heard children's laughter. Confused, they called up to the control station to make sure there weren't any guests still on the ride, but they assured him the boats were completely empty. They were beginning to get a little freaked out considering the tower was out in the woods where not a soul should be. So this particular tower is in the woods, like it's a trek out. Because that's, I don't know, where it's operated. The ride goes through like a big area.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. That is just, you're asking something spooky to happen.
Yeah. Then suddenly they heard rocks tapping up against the window. They called out on the loudspeaker to whatever hooligan was out there to cut it out, but when they looked out the window, they were completely alone. As soon as they realized the rocks were coming from seemingly nowhere, the window on the other side started being pelted with little rocks too. Having enough of this prank, they opened the door, walking outside to see the culprit. Not a soul in sight, but they did see something strange. They saw those little rocks coming directly from the ground and launching themselves up at the window of the tower. The employee ran back inside and called for their supervisor. They told them everything, and the supervisor got back with the employee to tell them to finish running the boats through, and they'd send someone to escort them to their ride home. As soon as they said this, there was a loud bang coming from beside them. A very large rock slammed up against the side of the door, and to them it looked way too big for someone to be able to throw it from the bottom of the staircase and reach the door like it did.
Oh, she's powerful.
So it was like a big rock.
Like the one I hit on the road today?
Probably.
Oh
a boulder.
my God, dude. A boulder.
There are many hauntings known throughout the park, and though the spirit of Missouri Jane is complete speculation, there are some deaths that have happened while the park was in operation that many people link to specific hauntings. The first death to be documented on the site was in 1976. A 20-year-old ranger at the Lion Country Safari was out in his Jeep, tending to the animals and making sure the park was running smoothly for guests on the rail passing by to see life, out on this man-made safari. They had this whole, safari set up and
with lions and stuff, like actual live animals.
Yes, live animals and a rail that people could get in and kind of drive above and go through and look.
Oh wow.
John McCann had a few run-ins with the lions before this July afternoon. He had even been scratched, like a lion jumped on his Jeep and scratched him through his Jeep. But he didn't seem too concerned for his safety. It was actually reported that he had planned to leave soon since his wife had gotten a new job elsewhere. Nobody knows for sure what happened this day, but it was speculated by investigators that he didn't follow proper protocol and left his Jeep behind Blazer Berm. Nobody knows why, again, but many believe it was to use the restroom. Rather than driving all the way back in, he simply left his Jeep, not knowing a lion was stalking him nearby. It's thought he was caught unaware by one or more lions before he could make it back into his Jeep and close the door. He was dragged away from his vehicle and mauled to death in the safari. It was horrible and absolutely tragic, but it wouldn't be the last loss of life inside the park. Next came in 1983, and this time it was a guest. On May 13th, 1983, Kings Island was hosting grad night for graduating seniors from surrounding high schools. Among the group that arrived that Friday was a 17-year-old boy named John Harder. Details of what exactly happened are a little murky, just like with John McCann, because no one was around. But their night started out just like every other senior there that night. He arrived with a group of friends from his high school that evening, planning to spend the rest of the night in the park before spending the night at a nearby hotel that they had booked. He was set to graduate from Hayes High in Delaware, Ohio, just a few weeks out on June 5th. And this was one of the final big celebrations of his senior year.
That is so heartbreaking. Before I even know anything. I always hate to hear a story where someone is like
On the cusp
at
of
the end of, or they just hit a milestone. It always hurts.
Yeah. It's unclear exactly how, but this 17-year-old was drinking that night. Nobody claims he was too drunk or belligerent, nobody he was with that night, but at some point, he separated from his group. Some close to the group of friends claim he had gotten into a fight with his girlfriend who was there with him that night. At about 10:15, wandering by himself, John began ascending the replica Eiffel Tower. He made his way up to the 50-foot platform, but for some reason seemed to have climbed the fence that led to the interior emergency stairwell. Maybe because he was intoxicated, or maybe because he was curious and exploring somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, he continued on climbing up the stairs, then over the stair railing and onto one of the structural beams, ignoring signs telling him authorized personnel only. Tragically, as he stood over near the elevator shaft, he was struck by an ascending counterweight, thought to have become tangled in the wires operating the elevator because of accounts that the employee operating the elevator at the time felt a sudden jolt when they were moving down. When they set the elevator to go back up, he must have come loose from the cables, leading to his fall down onto the top of the elevator and ending in his instant death.
Why is this suddenly like the worst episode ever? It's just like
Yeah.
1,000 Ways to Die.
It's horrible.
That show traumatized me, and now you're traumatizing me.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It was a very terrible and tragic accident. John was buried the next week in his hometown with hundreds of classmates, teachers, family, and friends attending his funeral. He was remembered as a kind, outgoing, and very spirited young man, beloved and greatly missed by all of those who knew him. Today, that tower still stands in the park, and many people claim to experience strange malfunctions and activity nearby. Employees have reported technological and electric issues that they can never really find the source for, like the elevators moving by themselves. After dark, most often near closing, employees have reported seeing the shadow of a young man standing on the Eiffel Tower when there shouldn't be any guests remaining in the park. Security is said to have been called to the tower on several occasions after employees witnessed a boy in 80s-style clothing walking on the top platform. A security guard was walking around the Eiffel Tower's base. It was almost midnight, way past the park's closing. As he passed, he heard a creaking sound. He turned around and saw the gate that blocks off the stairs swinging open. The guard assumed that it must have been the wind, even though it wasn't windy out, and he closed and locked the gate and started to walk away. Then he heard the creaking again, this time accompanied by what sounded like a teenage boy laughing. The guard turned around, not only seeing the gate opening, but also saw a shadow in the shape of a man run up the stairs and vanish. The guard double and triple checked the area, which only confirmed he was the only one in the area of the tower at that time. It's thought that the spirit seen and heard near the tower is John Harder. We'll never know for certain if it really is the spirit of the young man still there long after his passing, and some paranormal investigators have claimed to not get any activity connected to John there. So they claim they didn't get any EVPs. Psychics have said, I don't really feel John here. But it is well known among those visiting the park often and working near the tower that, quote, Tower Johnny is the usual culprit. That's what they call him.
Oh.
There have been a handful of other deaths at Kings Island over the years, including 26-year-old Mark Beckham, who is said to have dove from a 13-foot platform into a 2-foot deep fountain in August of 1986, as well as the park's tuba player, Thomas Cahall, who was struck by lightning carrying his instrument through the employee parking lot in 1989. But there was one horrible day at the park, known now as Black Sunday, where 3 people died in 2 separate freak accidents.
What are we doing? This
Isn't that
land
crazy?
is cursed. Also, Ohio? Again, what is going on over
What's
there?
happening in Ohio?
The amount of times we have circled back to something insane in Ohio.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Not me.
It's a lot. You read a lot about, or maybe I read a lot about, people passing in parks because of like ride malfunctions, or because they did something like John Harder did and they went somewhere they weren't supposed to
directions.
do. Yeah, they were like ignoring signs and stuff.
Yeah.
But struck by lightning
Oh, that's really sad.
on your tuba through the parking lot, like that's crazy.
That's really. They're
That's
all
a lot.
horrible. They're all horrible. I don't understand.
On June 9th, 1991, park maintenance changed the filter on an aerator pump that was inside the pond. Unfortunately, the outlets inside the pond running the pump did not have a ground fault circuit interrupter, stopping the flow of electricity through the system in case of malfunction. So, I read somewhere that these are like $10 to apply to outlets and like
The GFCI thing?
Yes. It's thought that while the pump filter was being changed, something was knocked loose or hit in some way that caused an incredible amount of electricity to surge through the water that day. Nobody in the park knew just how dangerous that water would become. That same day, a local company was hosting their work picnic at the park where 22-year-old Timothy Benning and his best friend, 21-year-old William Heathcote, were enjoying the day. At about 8:48 that night, William and Timothy climbed off of the Viking Fury and were walking over to another popular roller coaster, the Beast, when they passed over the pond's bridge. Timothy, in a bid to tease his friend, reached down into the water to splash William. William was walking ahead and he reached down to just splash his friend. Haha, As soon as his hand touched the water, the electrical current washed through his body and sent him over the edge and into the pond. Just as he fell in, William turned around and saw his friend plummeting into the water. So he dove into the water after his friend and was almost immediately shocked. 20-year-old security guard Daryl Robertson was just walking along the wooden deck of the beer garden when he saw it all happen. This was his second season at the park, and he was known as a dedicated employee, recently given an award for, quote, special effort in guest satisfaction and employee teamwork. So it was just like a very
a sweetheart.
Yeah,
Oh my
good
God.
guy, always working hard, trying to do what he can for the best of the park and his job. Without a second thought, Daryl, too, jumped into the water after the young men, but he immediately was shocked upon entering the pond as well. Another park guest, Craig Peltz, realized what was happening and was able to use a lid to a nearby garbage can, like one of those plastic ones, to pull Heathcote and Robertson from the water onto the beer garden patio. He was able to scoop them up by their shoulders. They then held another helpful guest by the ankles so that they could reach down and pull Benning out, who was now completely submerged in the water.
Oh my God.
Paula Earls, a nurse who was there at the park that day, was walking through Oktoberfest when she saw what was going on. She began CPR on the men, and 911 was called. It took about 11 minutes for an ambulance to arrive, taking Timothy Benning to a nearby hospital, and a helicopter arrived shortly after to life flight Heathcote and Robertson. Heathcote and Robertson both succumbed to their injuries, the first from the electric shock and the latter from drowning. Fortunately, Benning survived and was released from the hospital a week later, though he had severe injuries.
Bennings was one of the friends.
He was the first one to fall in.
Oh gosh. He was just trying to play a little joke.
Yeah, and
that is so heartbreaking.
two people going in to save them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Very, very sad. But even worse, at the same time all of this was happening, 32-year-old widow and mother Candy Taylor was climbing on to another ride nearby, the Flight Commander. This ride takes you in a two-person pod attached to hydraulic arms up about 60 feet into the air and has a joystick in the middle that allows you to flip.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Candy was enrolled in a truck driving school nearby with a couple of friends and had just moved to a temporary apartment from her home and children in Toledo while she finished up the program to start a new career. It was like an 8-week program.
Uh-huh.
Now that they were about halfway through the course, Candy and her friends Gary Oakley and Doreen Rasmussen decided to celebrate at the amusement park for the evening. It was reported that Candy had been enjoying herself and consumed somewhere around 8 to 10 beers while there that day. Her friends claimed she did not look or sound drunk when she walked up to the line and climbed on to the ride that night. Her friends rode first as Candy sat finishing her beer and getting a painted parasol for her 2 children. She was getting a little gift for them. She made it up to the front of the ride, and even though there was a sign claiming single riders would be paired, Candy was placed in a pod all to herself, strapped in, and sent on to ride alone. It was later found that Candy's blood alcohol level was actually 0.3, so almost more than triple the legal limit, leading investigators to speculate, because no one really knows for sure what happened, that she may have passed out after taking off in the ride, and the lap bar wasn't down in the seat next to her, so her body went limp, and she slid out of her lap bar over to the other side, and as she slid, she flipped the joystick, and she flipped and was thrown from the pod. Very horrible. Very, very horrible. She was ejected from 60 feet up, so she was up way high. Her friends saw the whole thing and rushed over to her after she hit the ground. She was still breathing, but severely injured, and paramedics were called. As all of this was happening, first responders were on the scene already of the first accident.
My God.
Eventually, she was life-flighted to Miami Valley Hospital in Dayton, where she also succumbed to her injuries. It was the first time since the park had opened that a guest had died on a ride.
Shut it down. Shut the whole park down. What are we... This park is still open today?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
After investigations were conducted on both accidents on Black Sunday, the park was fined more than $20,000 for their negligence with the electricity in the pond. It was found that the manufacturer of the Flight Commander ride was at fault for the design of the harness, allowing a person to slip out mid-ride, That particular ride remained closed for the rest of the year as they made changes to the safety features as well. But the tragedies that day remain a stain on the park's history, and some believe this day is a source for yet another haunting reported inside the park. Now, Candy's family also, I believe, sued the park, and like they give her family like $300,000-$400,000, and then they also sued the manufacturer of the ride
As they should.
for $8 million, and they closed for an undisclosed amount outside of court.
Oh my gosh. This is so horrible.
Very sad. Security guards are said to report hearing the sound of two men talking while walking near the pond at night, but when they investigate, there isn't ever anyone there to be the source of the sound. They've also reported seeing shadows walking around the area out of the corner of their eye or for fleeting moments. The same psychic who claimed to hear the giggle of the young girl also claimed to have a feeling of being pulled towards the pond. She reported seeing a ghostly hand reach for the water before she felt the sensation of an electric shock through her body. Now, she claims she did not do any research prior to coming to the park so that it didn't influence her and her feelings in any way. She does investigations and she doesn't do any research before going in and then getting the feelings that she gets.
If that's true, that is insane.
Yeah, well, she had one more story about the flight commander. She claimed to have been sitting in the Oktoberfest area of the park during their investigation when she very suddenly received a mental image of a lollipop. She was completely confused at the time, but then saw the ghost of a woman flying from the sky before vanishing in front of her. After learning the history of the park, she thinks the vision of the lollipop came to her because of Candy Taylor.
Oh.
That was her guess.
Oh my gosh. This is just sad.
It is very sad and very, very scary.
I feel like I'm always saying, like, anytime there's a haunting, I'm asking you, oh, is it confirmed? And you're like, no. I'm like, oh, man.
It almost feels better
to be confirmed.
I mean, for like an evidence standpoint of like a, like, how do you not believe this kind of, point of view, then like it's good to have this information, but also it's like, I almost wish it was all legend,
Yes. Oh, I thought that's kind of where we were going to go with this one. Like, oh, it's like a Five Nights at Freddy's type of thing and the animatronics, which, hey, I'd believe you because animatronics are scary.
Agreed.
But
especially at like Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, that was Ryan's first job.
Was it?
Yes.
I did know that.
He was the rat.
I did know that. That's crazy.
They all have to do it. You all have to
be a rat,
have a shift, and they're like, okay, hey, Ryan, go wake up Chucky. And he has to go put on the costume and run around the place. Not run, but
That'd be so scary if he's running around.
He would send me like Snapchat videos of him in the costume.
Mm-hmm.
He has
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next one is a little bit more legend, though there have been deaths at this one too. I feel like, I don't know if there is a single park that has not had a death or two.
And I hate that. They should have shut down that park after like the first thing.
Yeah. I don't know if they've had a death at that park in recent years.
Since that, but gosh.
I don't know.
See, all of my fears that people tell me are irrational, it's like, no, well, it happens. No. It's highly unlikely, but I'm sure these people didn't think, hey,
it's never zero.
I'm going to die at this amusement park today. No one thinks that. No. Except for me.
Except for you.
Well, I do.
And me sometimes.
I think about it every time.
Okay, well, before we move on to our listener stories, I wanted to talk about the oldest continuously operating amusement park in all of North America, Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. Its origin story is incredibly interesting. Like, very interesting. In 1846, a local scientist, Samuel Botsford, made a deal with Gad Norton, the owner of the property that the park sits today, to allow him to conduct a series of electricity experiments.
Oh.
I read that it was like exploding two things of like dynamite in the middle of a lake underneath a boat or something. I don't know exactly what was going on, but there was some kind of experiment going on.
He's a mad scientist of some sort.
Very much.
That's actually kind of cool.
Well, the event was well publicized, and Norton was impressed by the crowd that was drawn. So like everyone's like, I gotta see this. I gotta see what's going on.
They're killing all the fish under there. I'm not a fan of that.
Maybe. I don't know. It might have just
Dynamite?
exploded up. It might have exploded up. I don't know.
Okay.
It's undetermined how many fish may have perished in this experiment. But he decided that he'd use his land for the public, opening a picnic park around the lake and allowing swimming, rowing, and concerts inside the park the following year. Eventually, he even opened Connecticut's first 10-pin bowling alley and had some pool tables there as well.
Cool.
So it was like a whole, like family hang place. By 1911, a handcrafted wooden carousel was added to the park, and 3 years later, they added an electric-powered roller coaster. This coaster was eventually replaced by the Wildcat in 1927, and it is still in operation today. I think it's like the 14th oldest still operating wooden roller coaster in America or
Almost
something like that.
100 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. More rides, attractions, and a water park have been opened up since, spanning over 332 acres of land. The park has been host to millions of visitors and special musical guests who have hosted concerts on its grounds for more than 175 years. But there is something strange at this park. Many employees and visitors alike have reported feeling a sense of unease while they're late at night. And there is a legend surrounding the land of the park that some point to for the source of those odd feelings. Now, most of this I read on like a couple of blogs, Reddit, and Wikipedia. So, like, take all of this with a grain of salt.
Not the most credible sources, but sources.
Sources.
Okay.
Some may say.
Sources, asterisk, maybe.
Read the fine print.
Yeah.
But it's claimed that Lake Compounce's name comes from the Native American chief who sold the land to white settlers in 1684. Chief John Compound and his tribe are said to have signed the deed to the land in exchange for a small amount of money and several miscellaneous items, including a very large brass kettle.
Do we believe that?
It's possible.
That's interesting.
I read in one source that the kettle was like so big, like he could have taken a bath in it. Like it was just this big brass thing. But not long after, the legend continues on, that Chief Compound died just days later on that very land. One story claims he sank out in the middle of the lake and drowned. Others say he weighed himself down into the middle of the lake with that brass kettle after realizing he was ripped off for the land, and he and his family lived on just the day before the sale was final. And one particularly harrowing story claims that he was actually murdered by his own tribe after they felt betrayed having their land sold out from under them.
Yeah.
So many variations.
My gosh.
One or none of them may be true. Adding to that tragedy, it's claimed that the Norton family, the ones who purchased it from the compound, were very spiritual and may have practiced something akin to spiritualism, though we know from our Ouija board episode that spiritualism didn't, like get big in North America until like the 1840s or something. But this legend continues on, claiming even that the head of the Norton family lost his life also shortly after moving onto the land. And it's said that the lake was cursed.
I believe it.
Like at Kings Island, there have been a number of deaths at the park over the years. I didn't see any before 1981, but we can assume there probably was a death or two before this. But 16-year-old Michelle Johnson in 1981 fell from a roller coaster after standing up while it was running. 16-year-old Matthew Hinney in 1999 jumped on the side of the tornado while the ride was moving and became crushed underneath while working at the park that summer. 5-year-old Devin Alexander drowned in the lake in 2001. Wilfredo Martinez, I think, was struck by the fast-moving boulder dash in 2001 while trimming weeds around the ride. And 5-year-old Sean Rice passed in 2004 when a large tree limb fell on him and his mother who were visiting the park that day.
Like a tree limb?
A tree limb, like from a dead tree. It just
my God.
fell onto both of them.
Oh my gosh. I don't like this.
On a little bit of a lighter note, some claim that the curse of Chief Compound is what caused the downfall of Milli Vanilli. Now listen, for those of you who don't know, they were a popular duo who actually won a Grammy for Best New Artist in 1990. You may have heard their song.
Fakes.
They were. It's like, girl, you know it's true.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good song. On July 21st, 1998, the duo was singing on stage at Lake Compounce for an MTV performance when a tech malfunction caused skipping on their tracks, and it revealed that they were actually lip syncing. So from there, people started speculating, like, well, are they even singing their songs? If they're lip syncing on stage, are they even, really doing it?
I know this. This is tea.
Well, it was revealed later that next year that they were actually not singing any of their songs on their album. Like, not a single one of their songs was sung by them on their album.
I don't know why I know that, but that is a significant memory from my childhood of me knowing this. I think this was before I was born. This is like the late 90s, correct?
No, it was definitely before you were born.
Yeah. I don't know why I know.
Or it was like right after you were born when this happened.
I know all about this, but I didn't know it was there.
They had their Grammy rescinded and went through multiple lawsuits, and it basically ended their career. One of them went on to have like a semi-successful career way later, like almost 10 years later or something. The other one, unfortunately, did take his own life like 8 years after this whole incident. So not very good. But Milli Vanilli had its downfall at Lake Compounce.
All right.
Now you know.
Good to know.
Stories of the grounds at Lake Compounce being haunted have run rampant for decades at this point. I found Reddit post after Reddit post of former employees sharing their supernatural experiences while working there. Like someone coming on like, anybody work at Lake Compounce? And then just, yes,
That's
I
cool.
did. Everything from lights flashing on and off on their own, objects moving without being touched, disembodied music seemingly played from years gone by. So like maybe
it's Milli Vanilli,
like Milli Vanilli or Frank Sinatra or any of the tons of artists who played there.
That is cool.
And voices drifting on the wind when no one is left at the park. One former security guard worked overnight and claimed to hear phantom scuffling and walking noises inside a building that they had already checked. They had just locked up. They quit that night.
Oh yeah, 100%. The correct response.
I have a couple of stories from there before we move on to our listener stories. A couple things my coworkers said they experienced. The attic storage above the Emporium, the main gate gift shop, is allegedly haunted. A couple workers were going down the stairs and one of them felt something hit her hard on the back of her head. There was nobody behind her and nothing that fell and hit her. A different coworker said that the attic was haunted by an old lady, but I don't recall how she came to that conclusion. While scrubbing down the floor in the locker area late at night, hearing giggling and the noise of the locker opening in the aisle next to them. The lockers were all closed when they looked, but the doors have springs so they can't just easily open from the wind, etc. I worked at LC in retail from 2011 to 2013, basically a glorified stock boy for all the gift shops. My very first day, I was instructed to put price tags on shot glasses in the upstairs attic space of the Emporium, so that one that they said was extremely haunted. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, is the gift shop that you had to go through when you exited the park. The area looked like a maze of brown boxes, was hot as hell, and had dead bugs everywhere. Around the corner of the top of the stairs was the area I was working in. I began labeling the shot glasses, all alone, and had the eeriest feeling of dread the whole time. I kept looking over my shoulder behind me, felt like someone was watching me. Point to mention, the space has these crawl space-like areas that wrap around the whole upstairs. It wasn't an actual crawl space as you could walk through it, but it and the entrance to it was pitch black. And I walked through it once for some reason. The whole time I kept looking into the darkness and just waiting. It was an hour into my first shift, and I just wanted to get out of that attic. It felt like the air was electrically charged, and I had literally every hair on my body standing up the entire time I was up there. Anyways, I had a stack of shot glasses that were labeled on a built-in shelf. I leaned down to grab another one of the boxes, and suddenly a shot glass fell and shattered on the ground. The only thought I had at the time was, dang, first day on the job and already broke something. I decided to finish what I was doing and make my way downstairs to the shop. There was an older woman that worked there, and I told her, man, it's so creepy up there. And she immediately told me the lore of how the building is insanely haunted. To that point in time, I had never experienced anything paranormal and didn't know LC was supposedly haunted. It then dawned on me, how would one shot glass fall off of a stack of 5? The whole stack should have fallen, not one single glass. I'm 100% confident in the accuracy of what happened, and it literally made me numb when I realized this. Couple things that happened all in the same building. I was assembling tumbler cups and straws to put a coupon in them. I ran out of straws and had an extra cup. Spent over an hour tearing apart the main gift shop and the attic area and couldn't find a straw. When I finally gave up, there was one in plain sight on the counter, which I checked over 5 times.
I like that. That's the type of ghost you said you'd be.
I was just about to say, like, that's exactly who I'd be. Unless it was the one, like, it was hiding it from them and then they gave up and it was like, fine,
I'll give it to you.
Back.
Yeah.
Another one, I worked there when there was free soda. I got a cup of Mountain Dew and was talking to the girl that was working the register that day. Randomly, my cup seemingly flew out of my hand. I chalked it up to my clumsiness and didn't think much of it. The very next day, with another cup of Mountain Dew, I was talking to another coworker and the same thing happened. I've never been a clumsy person. This one could be a coincidence, but I don't think I've ever dropped a drink before or since. Other than that, I would have off and on feelings of being watched and uneasiness. A bunch of security guards told me stories of hearing screams in the ballroom, lights going on and off, and seeing shadows. I also heard about a locker that was rented to a kid that drowned in the lake and would never stay shut and would just stay open.
Aww.
I never felt unsafe though, but the vibe in the Emporium terrified me.
The ghosts just don't like Mountain Dew, so
that's what okay. I was thinking. Like, what?
Valid. You like Mountain Dew, don't you?
I think Mountain Dew's okay, yeah. Particularly a Baja Blast from Taco Bell.
I know.
All right. So what do you think so far? Spooky?
Well,
scary? Sad?
Tragic and sad.
Very tragic.
Spooky, yes. I'm enjoying myself, but also horrified in more ways than one.
I just can't imagine being in an amusement park, a place that's like lively, lit up, laughter, screams all day. No, and then nighttime comes and it's just so silent, so dark.
Even if it's not haunted, that alone is very scary.
Yes, because
closing up a park,
almost feel still the excitement and like jitters on people and like no one's there.
Imagine closing up a place like Disney World or something where there's like big, it's like a city.
Yeah. Someone described it as like, they said liminal space vibes.
Yeah.
Like it's very much like, this doesn't feel right.
Weird.
And that's what I was thinking the whole time. Like that's so eerie to me and just chilling.
Movie theaters, when you go late at night and you walk through the hall to get your theater, it feels not correct.
Like almost like liminal space.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Very scary.
Back rooms kind of vibe.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a few stories from our listeners who worked at amusement parks.
This is so exciting.
I'm very excited. Our first one is from Summer. Hello, I'm a recent follower of the podcast and I'm obsessed. I work in the theme park industry around London, England, and this particular theme park I had worked at for 3.5 years. Although I have a few stories, including a young boy running around a mirror maze, being alone at night, hearing footsteps and door slamming in a mansion which was built in 1348, and a woman in white, this ride was 100 times the most active. Although I would love to share my other experiences someday if you're interested. I won't be able to name the ride or theme park, but any of your English listeners may work out which ride I'm on about.
Tell us, please.
Leave it in the comments. The ride in question is an Egyptian-themed laser shooter, which you have a gun and sit in a cart. 5 seats per cart, 6 carts per train, averagely 3 to 4 trains in total, and lasted 7 minutes. A bit of backstory. An engineer named Herbert, now nicknamed Herman, sadly died while building the ride after falling 2 stories onto the electric track. Although this just sounds like a ghost story to scare the staff, there is actually a memorial plaque in the ride area hidden away from the guests, which I have included a photo of. So we've got like a little picture of the plaque.
Herman.
I was first told of Herman when I had finished my training by a fellow staff member who said he was known to roam the last 2 scenes of the ride and the offload platform. Although I'm a believer of the paranormal, I laughed it off as a joke. They were playing on the newbie and went about my shift. I was stood on the offload platform, which is where the guests exit the ride and leave through the gate. Part of my job was to make sure the whole train and platform was clear before giving the thumbs up signal for the train to be moved through the curtain, leaving me alone on the dark platform. I quickly came to learn that Herman not only liked to make himself known, he liked messing with the non-believers and newbies the most. After I checked the platform and train was completely clear of guests, I gave the thumbs up signal to the operator, and just as the train began to move, I swear, I saw a figure stood at the far end of the platform in the shadows. I quickly called for an emergency stop as I believed a guest was in a restricted part of the ride. However, as soon as I turned back around, he was gone. This became a regular occurrence working at this ride, along with hearing voices, footsteps, and the guns moving, seeing the figure walk from the platform into the restricted ride area, and the exit gate shaking violently despite no one being there. However, I seemed to get the most interaction with getting 3 taps on the back of my shoulder, partnered with, "Excuse me," despite no one being on the platform or the exit ramp. Still to this day, I continue to get 3 taps on my shoulder despite not having worked on that ride in 2.5 years, and working at 2 other theme parks since.
Oh, whoa.
Like Herman's still there, like, hey, remember me?
That's really scary.
After many years of working on this ride, I got used to Herman, saying hi and bye to him as I open and close the ride each day, and even telling newbies about him and laughing as they quickly came to me with a story. However, one interaction will always stick with me. It was a really quiet, rainy day in the park, and we had about 20 minutes left before we closed. I was working on the onload platform, which is where I would tell guests which row to sit in, checking the bars, and signal the operator when to send the train. I distinctly remember talking to these 2 guys who jokingly asked to be sat separate from each other, either end of the train, row 1 and row 12, as they were super competitive. They were the only guests, so I happily agreed and said I wanted to know who won when they finished the ride. No one else had gone on the ride since, so I sent empty train after empty train until 7 minutes had passed and the 2 guys came back. I popped my head into the offload platform to ask them who had won and wish them a good afternoon. As we were now completely empty, I stood talking to the operator, killing the last 10 minutes before I got to close the queue line for the evening. About 5 minutes into the conversation, the operator asked me if the 2 guys were the last guests I had boarded. Despite me confirming, she asked if I was 100% sure because there was someone still sat on the ride. I leant over to look at the CCTV screen, and sure enough, there they were, sat in one of the carts towards the back of the train in the second to last room. Panicking, the operator went onto the speaker and asked, "If you can hear me, please wave your hands in the air." After multiple attempts of trying to communicate to the figure sat on the ride, we decided to send empty trains until we got the train to the platform, thinking we had left a guest stuck in there. We watched as the train and the figure started to move along the track, but to our horror, the figure had disappeared once the train entered the next room. To make things worse, once the now empty train came to the end where we confirmed no one was on it, we heard running footsteps heading back towards the ride.
Oh my god. That just gave me a chill.
At this point, we all freaked out and closed the ride early, not wanting to stay another minute. Still to this day, there are sightings of Herman walking around the restricted ride area, sometimes causing shutdowns to unknown or skeptical staff members, and even reports of guests hearing footsteps and voices and getting the feeling of being watched while on the ride. Despite all of this, it's still one of my go-to rides whenever I visit the theme park, but now I have some spooky stories to go along with it. It's not one of the scariest stories, but as someone who had to work on the ride daily, being the first in and the last out each day, it was terrifying. Again, I love the podcast, and there's many more stories where that came from. Love summer.
That was crazy.
That was really scary.
I'm
sweating.
The last one really got me. Just the vision. I'm not a fan of that, actually.
That coupled with the running afterwards.
The running is what got me. I was fine until the running.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, spooky. And then you said running, and my whole body was like, ugh. Like, it gave up.
I started sweating, like for real, like, the cold sweat. Our next story comes from Rachel. Hi, Ghosties. My name is Rachel, and I absolutely love watching your podcast. Once I found it, I was hooked. I have 2 stories to share, just some weird things that have happened to me. We only shared the first one because it was the only one relevant to this, but we will get to your second one, Rachel. I worked at a major theme park in Florida in 2017 that has multiple different parks. This was the first time I've ever had something strange happen to me before. I worked on a ride, and it was the end of the night, so all the guests were gone, and the place was empty. The ride I worked on was a really fast car ride, and there was a guy who worked there named Stan, way before me, who died, and everyone always talked about how he haunted the place. Well, that night, I had to go grab something for my manager out of one of the break rooms. I was in there, and I heard someone really close to my ear whisper my name clear as day. There was no one with me, and even though the wall didn't go all the way to the ceiling and there were guests areas on the other side, all the guests were gone, and there was nobody there. Let's just say that I didn't even finish trying to find what I needed. I ran out so quickly and never went in there alone again. One person also had to ride the ride after all the guests left at the end of the night, and when I would do that, I always felt so uneasy because I was by myself in the dark ride, knowing no one else was on it. I pretty much closed my eyes the whole time when I had to do that because the feeling was too much. Anyways, that was the best job I ever had, and I miss it every day, but still something very spooky about that certain attraction. If this is Disney World.
I was gonna say, is it Disney?
And is it the, like, rock and roller coaster?
I could not tell you any of the rides
That's
there.
The first and only ride that I remember from Disney World.
I don't remember a single thing. Like I said, I think I was like 11 or 12 the one time I went.
Yeah, you were. Because I was 14 or 15.
Yeah, so could not tell you. But when they said Florida and multiple places, I said, Disney?
Maybe.
I would believe that out of all theme parks in the world, the Disney, specifically Florida, would be riddled with haunts.
There's a lot of stuff at Disney. I almost did Disney, but
I feel like we're not allowed to say Disney. I feel like we're gonna get sniped. I don't know. We shouldn't talk about their brand. Okay, I feel very scared about that.
Let's move on. It's not Disney. It's not Disney. It's some other random theme park in Florida with a dark, fast car ride. Our next story is from Mackenzie. Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm a new listener to you guys, and I've been binging the episodes while at work. Love the podcast. Anyways, this story happened to mostly me, but also my coworkers. I used to work seasonally at a theme park called Lagoon in Utah. We all were makeup artists for what the park called Frightmares. They had haunted houses and scare actors roaming around certain areas. Nothing crazy like Universal's Halloween Horror Nights. Lagoon Frightmares is known more for family-friendly spookiness. That's kind of like a...
Fright Fest.
Yeah, Six Flags?
Yeah, I've been.
That's exactly what I thought
a couple times.
I have too.
Very fun.
In the park, they have a swimming pool area called Laguna Beach. It was closed during Frightmares, but it was the area for us makeup artists and the actors to be working or getting makeup done and costuming. They put the makeup artists in the Laguna Beach bathrooms. Weird, I know, but they were sanitary after closing them to guests. But we all got placed in the woman's bathroom. All the stalls got locked, so no one can open them without crawling under or climbing over the doors.
Oh, no.
One specific stall, my first year, would randomly go off by me the entire season. My second season and third season, it was always by one of my coworkers. It would move with us. So if we were at our station, it would be there, or if we moved down to talk to people when there were no actors, it would be down there too. The head makeup artist always called it poltergeists and would yell at it every time it would go off. It became a funny little joke amongst us until I ended up having to stay till closing almost every night after the other makeup artists left.
Absolutely not.
Usually there's a makeup artist from the men's side with me. And there was, but she left to go get food real quick, so it's just me in the scary bathroom now. I started hearing a clicking sound. I went to where the sound was coming from, and then it was in a different spot. It kept moving, and then also swapped back and forth between bathrooms. It was weird. I'm on the woman's side, trying to find where the noise is coming from, and a stall that's supposed to be locked swings open, and the stall next to me flushes. I'm freaked, so I walk out and wait for the other makeup artist to come back before going back in. Nothing else happened that night, but the following morning, I checked the stall, and it was locked.
That's horrifying. I don't like the clicking sound or whatever.
Like coming unlocked all over the place.
Oh, God.
And it swings, flushes. Like, that's really scary. A couple weeks later, Poltergeist is doing his usual flushing thing. In between shifts for the actors, we kind of just chill. There's a little door on the end of the wall that separates the two sides of the women's bathroom. So one half is the stalls and the other is changing area / showers. It's about a 5-foot wide wall. And the bathroom of the door goes up to my hip. I'm 5'10". Top of the door is like a couple inches higher than me. One of my coworkers one day found out this door is unlocked. None of us knew that out of the 3 years I'd been there, we see a small lump-looking thing just sitting on top of the piping of the toilets. Everyone is using their flashlights to see what it is, but nothing is working. The lights are out in it, and the sunlight isn't reaching far enough for it. So I decide to climb in and investigate. I have my flashlight on and start walking towards it. When I'm close enough to see, it turns out to be a really creepy-looking alien goblin-looking doll swaddled in a blanket. Ah! Look at that!
Oh my God! Who put that there?
So scary.
The E.T. fetus? Like, that's so scary.
That's scary. I get freaked out and hurry out. Everyone else is now curious and someone else goes in. It became a sightseeing moment amongst everyone. I wondered which stall it sat behind, and so everyone had me go. I count as I walk by, and it turns out it was the stall that's right by the coworker station that the poltergeist decided to terrorize for 2 seasons.
Oh my God.
It's a cursed doll.
It is, quite literally. What?
Why is it swaddled like a little granny?
And what kind of doll is it? That's actually hilarious, but if I saw that like in real life,
faint,
I would die.
We still have no idea to this day where that thing came from. We've tried Googling it, but nothing comes up. So yeah, that's my ghost experience. Sorry it's so long, but I had to explain how things work so you weren't confused. Anyways, love the podcast. Can't wait for more to come.
That's hilarious. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's actually brought me more joy than it should have.
I was
not expecting it to look like that. So please, if you're not watching, please just go to the YouTube and look at that photo. It'll be on our Instagram too. Because oh my gosh.
All right, our last story comes from Nadia. Hello, ladies. Big fan. My name is Nadia, and I used to work for a theme park in California called Knott's Berry Farm from 2022 to 2024. I looked it up. It's like a really big thing.
I've heard of it. Mm-hmm.
A 100-year-old park that sits in beautiful Buena Park. I worked as a merch associate and lead in merch for many stores and parts of the park, so I have many stories to tell. I am a bit sensitive to the spirit world, so let's get started. Part 1. Picture gallery. I used to work as one of those employees who would help dress up guests in old Western outfits and take photos of them. We have a storage place upstairs above the store. The one thing about this place is a man with a black suit on watches you as you walk up the stairs. No one knows exactly who he is, but I know for sure he's the man in a photograph that I saw in one of the manager's offices. Mind you, I never saw him physically, just envisioned him and saw his photo. I had the worst chills and panicked. I don't know who he is, but I've only envisioned him, never seen him at the top of those stairs.
Where did they get those clothes? Are they actual old clothes?
Ooh, that's interesting.
And those are his, so
like
he's
if they're not just replicas?
Attached. Uh-huh.
Very creepy.
Interesting.
Part 2, Cordy's Corner. I was a lead in this area. I was told to be sure to say good morning and good night to the spirits of the theater. I would smell cigarettes, even though the park is smoking free. And one day I was working on schedules alone in the stockroom when I heard from the far back of the stockroom a simple, hello again. I was completely alone. I ran up the stairs and never wanted to be alone down those stairs again. Part 3, Fiesta Village. Many stories for this area. I was touched in broad daylight. Bear with me, this was during Spooky Farm entering Christmas time. I was with one of my associates, sitting and talking, when I felt 2 fingers forcefully tap my shoulder 3 times. It was so hard I turned around with concern and yelled, "Yes, how can I?" I stopped mid-sentence because I realized no one, absolutely nobody, was standing there. My associate was shocked and said, "What the hell was that? No one's there." And I turned to her and my face was shocked, white, and scared. I cleared my throat and said, "Yeah, someone touched me."
Weird.
Part 4, Marketplace, front of the park stores. We have the family who used to own the park, not family, still haunt the upstairs offices. It used to be a home to the family before expansion. I smelled perfume, never felt alone, and hated working at the store because of those feelings. Part 5, My Last Days. I was on the last week of my employment at this park. Despite the bad, I loved it. I smelled rotten eggs here, but this last piece was haunting. I had someone follow me home because I didn't say goodbye or goodnight after closing up. I was angry and vulnerable, so that's why something attached to me. I grew depressed, and my mental health was horrible after this.
Oh my gosh.
Word of advice when entering an old park like Knott's, always respect the buildings and the land. I hope to get added to an episode, and hopefully you can have a theme park themed episode because I have tons. Much love and blessings to you both. Thank you for your time, Nadia.
Amazing. You know what? I was so skeptical about this episode. To be honest with you, I was uninterested.
Were you?
I honestly was like, what are you about to tell me? I don't want to say dreading, but I was just, there are some episodes where I'm like, yes, I can't wait to hear it.
And this wasn't one.
This one, I was just like, okay, like, sure. Loved it.
It was good, wasn't it?
I loved it. And get that thing off your screen. That doll is horrifying.
This made the whole
Macy
episode.
has that freaking doll pulled all the way up, zoomed in on her computer
I'm
screen.
Gonna put it as my background.
That'll be your contact photo in my phone.
Okay, that works.
Oh, that's sick.
So let us know what you think. Were you skeptical at first too? Are you satisfied with the stories that we've told today? I loved that. I was expecting when I searched theme park, I knew I'd seen one come in before.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting maybe 2.
But we had 4.
Several.
Or 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
Nice.
So,
and I bet after this, there will be more.
Send them in, guys. We want to know. I'd love to do another whole episode themed around this. Wouldn't that be fun?
And we could go.
Yes.
Not ride the rides, but we could go.
Yes.
Oh, I would love it.
Okay.
I wonder what happened. What became of that doll? Is it still there?
I'd like to know. We just go to this little amusement
To
park
find
in
the doll.
Utah and we're like, do you know where this doll is? Have you seen him?
Hey, I'm down, honestly. And like we've mentioned before, Utah is beautiful. All the pictures and videos I've seen,
That's true.
I'd like to go just to look.
That's true.
So
Same.
let's go find the doll.
So like this video if you liked it, share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe if you want to go see us search for this doll. Also, send in your stories if you have a ghostly tale at a theme park or just a ghostly tale in general. We want to hear it. You can email us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. It's also written down in our description. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at ghostiespod, and you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/ghosties. We hope that you are having a wonderful holiday, whether you're with family, friends, or if you're just hanging out with us today. We appreciate you being here, and we're thankful for all of you.
Oh, yes, I was feeling super emo today just thinking about the Ghosties people. So thank you for being here. I'm thankful for y'all.
Yes.
But I'm not going to be sappy because I will vomit.
Yes. All right, we'll see you on Monday.
Goodbye.